Have you ever realized that nature attracts us? Things that were created, God's creation, they speak to us. Have you ever realized that the things that people take the most pictures of are natural things like the sun, the sea, mountains, animals? They would win any competition of pictures taken. Have you ever realized that when someone is stressed or is looking for reflection to clarify their thoughts, they are in search to escape stress? Usually, they look for a contact with nature. Have you realized that? Who has never left their house to walk in a park, to vent, or drove to the sea, just to look at it, not even to swim, but just to look at the sea, or put on some clothes and climb a mountain? Have you noticed that? What is this? What is in nature that attracts humans so much? You might have the answer. But let's see what Psalm 19 says. It is written, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork." This is another phenomenon, a universal one. Humans, when looking for hope or an answer, they look to the sky. Have you noticed it? When we are downcast, we look to our feet, to the ground. When we look for hope, we lift up our face to the sky and we see the blue sky or the stars. It's as if we were searching. It's as if our bodies, our eyes, by an instinct, knew where our help comes from. The psalm says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork." Even atheists do this. Not even them can deny, though they say they don't believe in God, that they are attracted by God and the natural works of God's handiwork. But they cannot search for this creation that we know are God's creation. And going on with the psalm, it says, "Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge," which means day after day, night after night, things get clearer. That what was blurry 1 year ago, today is clear to us. Am I right? What 10 years ago you didn't understand, most probably you understand it better, because one day was declaring the other, one night after another. That is why you shouldn't be worried if you are going through something now that you don't understand why. You are confused and thinking, "My God, what is happening?" Don't worry. Look up. Look to God. Look to the sky. Because day unto day, if you remain looking at Him, you see that things will get clearer. Will become clearer for you, because this is what is determined. Verse 3 of Psalm 19 says, "There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard," which means God speaks in every way, everywhere, of course, for those who have ears to hear. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. This is written in Psalms. I'll go to Romans chapter 1, verse 20, speaking to the Romans and those who didn't know God. Because in Rome, they worshipped desires and Caesar, the empire, the military force. They worshipped pagan gods. So there was a question among Christians, those who were converted. What is their hope? If someone dies without knowing the gospel, what is their hope? Will God blame them if they have never heard about his existence? Then Paul wrote, answering this question in verse 20, chapter 1. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. God is revealed in things that are created, that he made. God speaks through the sky, the stars, not in the form of horoscope. It's not that. The devil distorted this truth, leading people to believe in horoscope science. It has nothing to do with this. God speaks through his creation, showing his power and majesty. For instance, in the universe, they observe laws that sustain it and maintain the universe in perfect order. Humans can calculate and know when a moon eclipse will happen. They can know the precise time and hour because the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth are obeying laws. And as you who think will conclude, if there are laws, there is a legislator. It was not human beings who created these laws that sustain the universe, that determine the hours, the days, the seasons of the year. Laws that maintain the sun, the earth, the stars in their due course. It was not human beings who created them. They just followed them. So who created these natural laws? Am I right? Do you think that chance can create any law? An accident can create a law that does not fail? So this is what Paul was referring to when he said, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power in Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Which means they only need to think a little, and even if they have never got a Bible in their hands, even if nobody has ever preached to them. And then that question is answered. Bishop, what will happen to those who have never been reached by the gospel and they died? Well, they had witnesses, at least witnesses in the creation of God, so they will be judged before what they had at their disposal. But humans prefer to attribute these things to chance, to an accident, to gods that they have created, and not to a higher power, God's creation, that is clearly presented to whoever wants to see if they want. But many don't recognize God's power in nature because the next conclusion after this, if the person recognizes that there is a God, so the next conclusion is, I must obey this God. I must follow his word. And most don't want. Most don't want to obey the word of God, God's voice. That's why it is easier to say, he doesn't exist, because I don't need to obey those who don't exist. But if I do it, I need to do something about it. if He is the Creator, if He created me and all that there is, if His laws rule all the universe, so His laws must rule my life. This is clear. This is what a head that thinks can conclude. But many people, the majority, prefer to say, I don't think this is true. They prefer to seek for gods that are imaginary or to make themselves their own God. But as the Holy Text says, they are without excuse. The nature speaks of God. And when you have this desire to have a contact with nature, when you see someone's picture climbing a mountain, someone who is not religious, but they feel a connection to natural things, to animals. When you see someone seeking for this contact, learn this. In them, there is a thirst to know God. Maybe they need just a little push, somebody to tell them what is really behind that thirst, that desire, that search, that they try to fulfill it in nature, but unfortunately, it is not fulfilled to the fullest.
If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.